Well, we're going to fly over to, actually, I thought our next guest, he is Australian, but he's actually in India. So our next guest is Sriman Sahadeva Prabhu from Australia, but currently residing in India. He's been a devotee since 1970. So we have a beautiful senior devotee with us here. And he took Harinam from Srila Prabhupada, which makes me totally jealous in a good way. That he took Harinam from Prabhupada, that he met Prabhupada. I remember when I first went to Vrindavan in '96, I went to Prabhupada's Samadhi. I really wanted to meet Prabhupada. So he took Harinam from Srila Prabhupada in '72, and he took Diksha the next year from Srila Prabhupada in 1973. And he met Gurudev in Gurudev's first Western tour year, which, by the way, we just celebrated. Today is Saturday, so in England, yesterday was Gurudev's departure for his first Western tour, and I think in the West Coast of America it was Thursday. So that's a very momentous couple of days. So Sriman Sahadeva Prabhu first met Gurudev in '96. With Prabhupada, Prabhupada directed him to preach and do deity worship, and with Srila Gurudev also instructed him to preach. And in Murwillumbah, which is a very successful Krishna center in New South Wales, Prabhu arranged all the cooking for the festivals for many years in Murwillumbah. They had a lot of very successful festivals there. So with a very warm welcome, Prabhu Sahadeva, please share your Pushpanjali with us. We're very happy to have you today. Thank you. Oh, you're on mute, by the way. You need to unmute. Yeah, fantastic.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Okay.
We can hear you. Yeah. Yes, we can, Prabhu.
That's good.
Before it collapses again, I'm not going to reintroduce you. Just go for it, because I'm worried the reception's going to go. So please offer your Pushpanjali.
Okay. So I'll begin now, will I?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devan Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Bhastita Dasadani Nama Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Srimati Bhaktivedanta Narayana Namani Vanchakalpaturubhishta Kripasandabhya Vichapatitana Bhavane Vaishnavi Namo. Do I need to give an introduction, about myself first, or just go straight for it?
Whatever you're inspired by, Prabhu.
Okay. My name's Sahadeva Das. I took initiation from Prabhupada in 1971 in Sydney, Australia. I met Gurudev in 1996. I was in a like a natural sort of healing type what do you call it, a retreat, and halfway through, one devotee rang me up and said, "Oh, Gurudev's in Australia in Murwillumbah." So I was in Cairns, which is like, what is it, 1,000 kilometers away. So I just jumped on the next train, and I caught Gurudev for the last 3 days that he was there in Murwillumbah. And one devotee that I'd known in ISKCON for many, many years, he introduced me to Gurudev. And so Gurudev was staying at Brajaballabha's place. He has some acres of land, and he built a really nice wooden cottage. So Gurudev was there. So Tridani Maharaja. So he grabbed me by the hand and took me to Gurudev and introduced me. And it was like love at first sight. And basically Gurudev just reached out, grabbed me, and pulled me towards him, and never let me go. And so Gurudev once said, he said, "I am closer to you than the air that you breathe." Gurudev would go for morning walks every morning, So one morning, Gurudeva was walking, and there was like shrubs and trees and like bushes on each side of the road. And so I saw Gurudev that he would sort of stop and he would look into the bushes. And I was wondering, why was Gurudev doing that? And so one devotee told me that, he was sort of going in and out of consciousness, from external consciousness to experiencing internal feelings for Krishna. And, Prabhupada would always say, like anyone who's showing any symptoms of ecstasy, then we should kick on face with boot. So I was in a big dilemma here. And so I talked to Gurudev, and he immediately just was right there, responding to what I was saying. And so later I realized that Rasik Vaishnavas, sometimes they lose external consciousness, sometimes momentarily. So, I accepted that later. But at the time, I thought it was a bit strange. But as I got to know Gurudev, and as I was serving Gurudev, I started to realize more and more who he actually was, and how valuable he was to me, and what I was getting from Gurudev. I was just over the top. After Prabhupada left, I took Shiksha from Srila Maharaj, and then when Srila Maharaj left, I thought, Gaudiya Maharaj was there also. So I took some help from Gaudiya Maharaj. But basically, I sort of felt like I was on my own again, especially after Gaudiya Maharaj left. And so in 1996, when I met Gurudev, it just felt like my spiritual life just started again. And I didn't do that much service to Gurudev. I would organize the cooking. When Gurudev would come to Mawulamba in Australia, I was organizing the kitchen and the cooking. So, that was quite an intense service. And, I was so happy doing that. And I got Gurudev, I got so much mercy from Gurudev. And, so much so that I feel like that for the rest of my life, I'm fixed in some way, in Krishna consciousness and in my relationship with Gurudev. But what the thing that struck me a lot was Gurudev made it very clear that Braj Prem, especially Manjari Prem, is the ultimate highest goal. And he made that very clear. And also, he gave a greed for that to some varying degree, that I became fixed in the understanding that my ultimate destination is Manjari Prem. And so I sort of, so many misconceptions and so many different doubts were cleared by Gurudev. And he had so much love and affection. It's like when I first met Prabhupada, there's so much love and affection there. I was in the temple 6 months, and there was so much love and affection from Prabhupada that was a source of inspiration for me, basically for the rest of my life. And then when I met Gurudev, a similar thing happened. And everything that Prabhupada gave me was being developed by Srila Narayana Maharaj. And it said in the first chapter in Chaitanya Charitamrita that there is no difference between Shiksha and Diksha Guru. So I had that experience. I mean, of all Shiksha Gurus, once Gurudev gave a lecture in 1999 in Vrindavan when we were on Parikram. And he said, Diksha Guru is only one, but you can have many Shiksha. But he said, among all Shiksha, one will be prominent. And so for me, you know, Srila Narayana Maharaj is the most prominent Shiksha Guru for me. And he gave me so much mercy. And there was amongst my godbrothers, there were problems because some of them were against Srila Gurudev, and so I was sort of forced to basically make a decision and, you know, extricate myself from those devotees who were offensive to Gurudev. And you know, it separated me from ISKCON, but you know, but anyway, what's the point of having a social life at the cost of your spiritual life? So I made a decision, which I haven't regretted to this day. I remember once one sannyasi, ISKCON sannyasi, came to Gurudev, and he wanted to join Gurudev's group. And so Gurudev, there was one of Gurudev's sannyasis was there, and his feet were all cracked. I think they were even bleeding, and his dhoti was ripped, and you know, it wasn't a pretty sight, really. And so Gurudev said, well, you want this? Then yeah, come and follow me. But he went back to ISKCON. And it was really nice going on parikrams with Gurudev. He gave so much, especially in the early days, like when the first parikram, I think it was 1998, I think I went on the first parikram. And so Gurudev was still walking and still sprightly enough to actually go along with the parikram on foot. And so all the katha that Gurudev was giving, it was so inspiring. And just being there every, you know, like for Kartik and for Gopanim, it was so inspiring for me. And just before Braj Mandal Parikram, just before Gopanim, all of a sudden, money would just come out of nowhere. And I had enough for the fare there and back and all the expenses. About a month or so before. And this happened every year. You know, within a month before Gopanim and within a month before Braj Mandal Parikram, there I was holding an airfare and all expenses to go on Parikram. It was amazing how it was consistent, like twice a year, every year for like 12 years. So, and once I went to Jagannath Puri on one Purushottam month, and Gurudev there, in one lecture, he said, I have called you all here to develop your Sukriti. So I thought that, you know, Gurudev was always with me, always looking after me. And these external sort of manifestations of Gurudev's mercy, you know, I really appreciated. And also, hang on 1 minute. Is that? Okay. So, and also internally, so much mercy Gurudev was giving. Me personally, you know, so many attachments I had and so many um, problems I had in my life became small or smaller, and it became much easier to follow Gurudeva and to follow Prabhupada and follow the process of Krishna consciousness. Like there's one instant, one brahmachari in Australia, he fell in love with one girl, young, she was a young, pretty girl, and he was young. He was like in his early 20s or something, and he told me, he said, my mind is so fixed and absorbed in this girl. He said, I can't do bhajan. I can't chant. I can't eat. I can't sleep. It was a mess. And anyhow, he went to see Gurudev and explained the situation to Gurudev, that, you know, I've fallen in love with this girl, and I can't do any bhajan. I can't chant. I can't be a devotee anymore. And so next morning he woke up, and the attachment was gone. It's like he was back to normal brahmachari life, and he didn't have a problem anymore, and he was able to do his bhajan. So there's many histories, you know, in Vaishnava history throughout the world, the history of the world, where the guru, he creates changes within a devotee's heart, internally or externally within his environment, you know, to support his sadhana and bhajan. So, you know, there are devotees that have had this experience. One of my godbrothers, he left Krishna consciousness, but he still loved Prabhupada. But so I invited him to come and see Gurudev, and so he came. Gurudev was giving a lecture in Sydney, so he came to the lecture, and as soon as he laid eyes on Gurudev, he just burst into tears. It was amazing. And later on, he told me, he said Gurudev's a pure devotee. That was his experience. But you know, like in Australia, when Gurudev would come, there was people that would come, like new people that would come, and when they saw Gurudev, they would just start crying. There's actually one woman who, one disciple of Gurudev, she had a picture of Gurudev, and she showed a woman who had nothing to do with Krishna consciousness previously, and hadn't read the books, didn't know anything. She took one look at the photo of Gurudev, and she burst into tears. That's amazing. But Gurudev had so much love and affection that, you know, we would all just melt, you know, with Gurudev. And those devotees who sincerely serve Gurudev, they just melted, you know. They you know, there was tears coming from their eyes. It was like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, one should approach the bona fide spiritual master, inquire from him to blissfully and render service. And Guru will impart knowledge into your heart. So, and many disciples of Gurudev who sincerely serve Gurudev experience this, that, you know, internally within their hearts, they experience changes taking place that made it easier for them to do sadhana and bhajan. And that's one of the symptoms, you know, of pure Vaishnava, is that one develops attraction to Krishna, and his material desires, entanglement, become less. Like when Chaitanya was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even the animals would chant in ecstasy just by seeing him. So pure Vaishnavas, they're very unique like that, and they're very, very attractive. And wherever Gurudev went, you know, devotees were so happy when he would chant. So many songs Gurudev would chant. was really nice to hear. So now that Gurudev's gone, or we're left the physical presence, then we're all in separation from Gurudev. And there's one really nice book Raghunath Das Goswami wrote. It's called Vilap Kusmanjali. And it's a very high book. But there, Gurudev says that unless one can cry for Guru, he can't cry for Krishna. So, those disciples that sincerely serve Gurudev, then they're feeling separation from Gurudev, and what do you call it? But that feeling of separation from Gurudev, that qualifies one to be in separation from Krishna. And Gurudev was so expert, like philosophically, he knew the Shastra so well. And, because he's realized what he gave, was he was giving realized knowledge. He was giving real katha, where, the words that were coming from Gurudev's mouth, they were not material sound vibrations, and that nectar coming from his lotus mouth, that had such an influence on the hearts of the devotees that we all became so inspired and so enthusiastic about Krishna consciousness, and especially about serving him. And Gurudev gave general instruction, like if you read his books and like darshans and that, but he also gave personal instruction to devotees, which is basically the heart and soul of the devotees. So, although Gurudev is not physically present, but he's still there in the hearts of his disciples. The Guru is always in the hearts of his disciples. Just like the super soul is always within the heart. But the super soul and Guru basically are one. Like in the first chapter in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Krishna says, "I am Guru." So the super soul, who is Krishna within the heart, he's our Guru, and he manifests externally as in the physical form as Guru. So the Guru is always in the heart of the disciple, because the instructions that Srila Gurudev gave, they are there within the disciple, and on a regular basis, those instructions, they're always coming to the conscious awareness. It's like we may be doing something or going about our material life, and all of a sudden we'll see or hear something that will remind us of Gurudev, or remind us of an instruction that Gurudev has given. So in that way, Gurudev is always with us, and he's always coming to us. But from my personal understanding, the greatest contribution that Gurudev has given us is developing greed for the highest goal of life that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave, which is Manjari Bhav. Gurudev gave us a greed for that, gave us an inspiration for that. And the katha that Gurudev gave, where can we find that? I mean, Gurudev was criticized for giving rasa katha, even in the Gaudiya Mat and also in ISKCON. He was criticized for giving that. And but Gurudev once said, if I don't give this a high rasa katha, it will be lost. If we hear rasa katha from a conditioned soul, then it's not so good. Like Prabhupada said, one should hear as far as possible from the lips of a pure Vaishnava. So when we hear rasa katha from the lips of a pure Vaishnava, we can compare that to hearing from conditioned souls, whether they're devotees or not, whether they're kanishta or whatever. We can't compare that. So some devotees were quoting even Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, saying that Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said that one should not even say the name of Radha. But he was doing sahaja bashing in the beginning of his preaching. He wanted to clear, because the general public thought that Vaishnavas were just low class people. Because their only experience with Gaudiya Vaishnavas was sahajas. So he wanted to clear that. So in the beginning, he was really strict with the sahajas. But then later, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, okay, the sahaja bashing is over, and now we should hear rasa katha. We should go deep into rasa katha. And Prabhupada wrote the Krishna book. There's so many examples. So, but what Gurudev gave, I mean, where can we find that? Like we can read the Goswami's books and we can get so much from there, but when we hear that from Gurudev, there's no comparison, because Guru has the key that unlocks the Shastra. We can read Shastra and it will just go into our head, but when we hear, especially such wonderful rasa katha from Srila Narayana Maharaj, it goes into the ear and into the heart. So we're all really fortunate, Gurudev traveled the world, I think, 6 times. Maybe it was more, I'm not sure. But he was spreading such wonderful katha all over the world. And then in Gurudev's books also. And also there's lectures of Gurudev, there's morning walks, there's darshans. So there's so much information that Gurudev has given. Like Prabhupada cleared the jungles, and he set a platform, a foundation, from which Srila Narayana Maharaj could progress, from which we could progress. How long do I talk for?
We pretty much reached the end, Prabhu.
I reached the end. Okay.
You want to say? Have you got another story you want to say?
Another story.
Anything else you'd like to add? Is there anything else you'd like to add? Is there anything else you'd like to add that comes?
Just one quick story. Once I was going on a morning walk with Gurudev, and I had a really stressful I was having a really stressful experience with a family member, and I was so stressed I could hardly concentrate on what Gurudev was saying. I was on a morning walk, and he just stopped. He turned to me and he said, "Cruel people should be rejected." And it became crystal clear you know, that this family member was creating so much stress for me, and he was doing it, you know, because he was envious of me. And so then I became totally at peace, and I was able to focus on what Gurudeva was saying 100%. There's a few occasions where Gurudeva has done that in my life, giving me like personal instruction, but the others are too personal. But that one, okay. And Gurudev, he, you know, Gurudev is three-color gyar because, you know, pure Vaishnavas, they can see past, present, and future. So Gurudev actually gave me instruction that really that was related to my future, which I was not aware of at the time. And he was really emphatic. He gave me one instruction, and I was thinking, he's giving me this instruction. He was really emphatic about it, and I was surprised. And I was thinking, well, what does he mean by that? You know? And then years later, after Gurudev had left, the physical presence, and then I realized what he actually meant by that. So he actually gave me a service that began in the future. All right, Prabhu, thank you very much for letting me talk.
You know what? I was really amazed because right at the beginning you were talking about how Gurudev went from internal to external consciousness and back again. And I wrote down that's like Raghunath Das in Vilap Kusumanjali. And then you mentioned the book. And that's not a book that many people mention. And I'd written it down. I was like, wow, that was beautiful synchronicity. You've had some amazing association with Srila Srila Maharaj and Gaudiya Maharaj. But I love the way you really emphasized, you said the words that, you know, what Srila Prabhupada gave you so much, and then Gurudev developed it. And this whole Shiksha Diksha thing, and this whole Diksha Shiksha relationship, and that there's one prominent Shiksha. And I think in the fullness of time, I hope everybody will realize how Prabhupada and Gurudev are, they're a team, they're a complete team. And I think over time, everybody will appreciate that. It's slowly becoming realized by more and more people.
Well, if Shiksha Guru cannot bring you closer to your Diksha Guru, he's not Shiksha.
Yeah.
Because the Diksha Guru is the original Guru, and what he's giving, Shiksha Guru supports that and develops that. What we get from Diksha Guru. So we know if someone is Shiksha, if he's developing our relationship with our Diksha Guru, then we know he's Shiksha. If he doesn't do that, he's not Shiksha. Even Gaudiya Maharaj said that the Diksha Guru, he will enter the heart of the Shiksha Guru and he will instruct you through the Shiksha Guru. And that was my experience with Narayana Maharaj.
Because the Shikshas, he's peeling off the layers and the revelations of the same teachings.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Going deeper and deeper. And I love what you said about greed. And I wanted to add something about greed, because when I was first told about greed by Gurudev, I was a bit forlorn because I thought, well, I don't really have greed. And then I realized, from what Gurudev was saying, that if you don't have greed for greed. And anyone can have greed for greed. Anyone. And I thought, oh, if I start from greed for greed, then I'll end up at greed. And that's exactly true. And so Gurudev was so expert in that way. So I'm so happy that we managed. Thank you for being so patient, by the way, Prabhu. Are you in Mayapur or in Vrindavan?
I'm in Mayapur.
Okay. Thank you so much for being patient and staying with us, because that was really beautiful. That really completed our day. Yeah, thank you so much. It's not easy. It's not easy. This technology sometimes lets us down. But without the technology, we'd never have reached you in the first place. So we're very, very grateful, Sahadeva. Thank you so much.